Unfortunately, we had to cancel the talk that we had planned for GDC. But we do have some super exciting news about PS5. And who better to bring that to you than the one and only Mark Cerny. Without further ado, over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Jim. There will be lots of chances later on this year to look at the PlayStation 5 games. Today, I want to talk a bit about our goals for the PlayStation 5
I didn't even run my fucking intro!
And how they influenced the development of the console. I think you all know I'm a big believer in console generations. Once every 5 or 6 or 7 years, a console arrives with substantially new capabilities.
What up, guys? I see you guys. I see you guys. We out here. Good.
Hopefully not
good.
Too
We out here.
And soon there's games
that frame
that
drop?
never have been created before.
Nah, we good.
Now, it used to be that as a console designer, you'd somehow intuit what would be the best set of capabilities for the new console, and then build it in complete secrecy. For the PlayStation console,
let me actually do this real quick.
Lasted through PlayStation 3, a powerful and groundbreaking console.
Okay, it is on auto.
One that caused quite a lot of
I do want to have it on that. Okay. Give it a sec. Hold on. Hold on.
Build it in complete secrecy. For the PlayStation consoles, that period lasted through PlayStation 3, a powerful and groundbreaking console, but also one that caused quite a lot of heartache, as it was initially difficult to develop games for.
Oh wow, so, you see that frame drop that's going on?
4, we've taken a different
I don't know why there's frame drop. Anyways, fuck it. I'm not gonna fix it now.
The first of these is listening to the developers, which is to say that a lot of what we put into a console derives directly from the needs and aspirations of the game creators. We definitely do have some ideas of our own, but at the core of our philosophy,
I'm cracking that shit all the fucking way up,
is that game players are here for the fantastic games. Which is to say that game creators matter. Anything we can do to make life easier for the game creators or help them realize their dreams, we will do.
I'm sorry, guys. This stream is so random. This is no sketch or anything like that.
Various developers and publishers sit down and discuss how they're doing with the current consoles and what they'd like to see in future consoles. This requires weeks on the road, as reaching the bulk of the game creators involves well over 100 people at something like 24 publishers and developers. And it is incredibly valuable. By the way, the feature most requested by the developers, that was an SSD, which we were very happy to put in the hardware, but a lot of problem solving was required. I'll be doing a deep dive on the SSD and surrounding systems later on in this talk. It's also key.
Is it showing how much coronavirus is going on right now on the map? What's going on?
Sufficiently familiar to game developers. I think about this in terms of balancing evolution and revolution. Now, with PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, the target was a revolution each time with a brand new feature set. That was great in many ways, but time for the developers to get up and running got longer with each console. In the past, I've called this
backwards compatibility.
Here's what I had for those 3 consoles. To be clear, I'm not talking about time to make a game. Developers will be ambitious, and it may take them 6 years or so to realize their vision. What I'm talking about is that dead time before graphics and other aspects of game development are up and running, and trying to minimize that. On the other hand, if we're trying to reduce that dead time to 0, that means the hardware architecture can't change at all. We're handcuffed. We need to judge for each feature what value it adds and whether it's worth the increase in developer time needed to support it. So with PlayStation 4, we were able to strike a pretty good balance between performance and familiarity. We got required learning back to PlayStation 1 levels. With PS5, the GPU was definitely the area we felt the most tension between adding new features and keeping a familiar programming model.
Why does he has like such a
under a month
soothing voice?
That feels like we're striking about the right balance. I'll go into a bit more detail later today about our philosophy with the GPU and the specific feature set that resulted from it. It's also very important for us, as the hardware team, to find new dreams, by which I mean something other than CPU performance, GPU performance, and the amount of RAM. The increase in graphics performance over the past 2 decades has been astonishing, but there are other areas in which we can innovate and provide significant value to the game creators, and through them, the players. That's why the SSD was very much on our list of directions to explore.
I wonder if that is like, I wonder if those people are actually legitimate real people that's sitting down there.
The biggest feature in this category is the custom engine for audio. That's today's final topic. The push for vastly improved audio, and in particular 3D audio, isn't something that came out of the developer meetings. It's much more the case that we had a dream of what might be possible 5 years from now, and then worked out a number of steps we could take to set us on that path. So here again are the three principles. The first being enabling the desires of developers to drive.
I have no idea what he's talking about, but his voice though, I know, right? I know, right? His voice is fucking soothing. I'm sitting here going like, all right, keep talking. I have no idea what the fuck you talking about. I know about SSD, but you know, anything else, just keep talking.
Possible, but can you put an SSD?
No homo.
That was a discussion we were also having internally. It was clear that the presence of a hard drive in every PlayStation 4 was having a positive impact. A lot of things that would simply have been impossible at Blu-ray.
Is my stream on Just Chatting?
At the same time,
yeah, it is.
In 2015 and 2016, when we were having these conversations, developers were already banging up against the limits of the hard drive. And a lot of developer time was being spent designing around slow load speeds. I want to focus in on just one number here, which is how long it takes to load a gigabyte of data from a hard drive. The difficulty being that hard drives are neither particularly fast nor flexible. If all your data is in one block, which is frankly not very likely, you can load 50 to 100 megabytes a second, depending on where the data is located on the hard drive. Let's assume it's on the outer edge, which means loading a gigabyte takes 10 seconds. If you compress your game packages, you can fit more data on the Blu-ray disc and also effectively boost your hard drive read speed by the compression ratio. We support zlib decompression on PlayStation 4 that gets you something.
You know what they
like
should do? They should just give all of us a PS5 for free. All this Corona shit that's going on,
unfortunately,
just give us a PS5 for free, so everybody can spend their time
around in various
at home
on the hard drive.
Stay your asses home.
Sourced from multiple locations within those files.
I keep telling you guys.
Lots of seeks are needed at 2 to 50-ish milliseconds each. My rule of thumb is that the hard drive is spending 2/3 of its time seeking and only 1/3 of its time actually loading data. Putting all of that together, a gigabyte is very roughly 20 seconds to load from a hard drive.
That's actually kind of slow.
A gigabyte is not much data. Games are using 5 or 6 gigabytes of RAM on PlayStation 4, so boot times and load times can get pretty grim. Or to put that differently, as a player, you wait for the game to boot, wait for the game to load, wait for the level to reload every time you die, and you wait for what is euphemistic.
Oh God, not math!
Travel.
Oh, come on, guys! You guys, aren't you guys gamers?
What if we could have not?
You guys are supposed to know this shit,
but a blindingly fast SSD.
Or at least help me.
If we could load 5 gigabytes a second from it, what would change? Now, SSDs are completely different from hard drives. They don't have seeks as such. If you have a 5 gigabyte a second SSD, you can read data from 1,000 different locations in that second, pretty much at speed. As for time to load a gigabyte, this is next gen we're talking about, so memory is bigger. Instead, we should be asking how long to load 2 gigabytes. And the answer is about 1/4 of a second. I mean, that's amazing. We're talking 2 orders of magnitude, meaning very roughly 100
damn fucking
times
good.
faster. Which means at 5 gigabytes a second for the SSD, the potential is that the game boots in a second. There are no load screens. The game just fades
the power
down
of SSD.
a half dozen gigabytes. And
I gotta get an SSD for my PC, man. Holy shit! My PC takes 1,000 years just to turn
travel
to boot
so
up.
Fast, it's blink and you miss it. As game creators, we go from trying to distract the player from how long fast travel is taking, like those Spider-Man subway rides, to being so blindingly fast.
We gamers, we play, not built.
Transition down. Pretty cool,
I see you don't have your own gaming PC at home, huh, Masuda? Because I built that motherfucker my damn self.
The primary reason for an ultra-fast SSD.
You saying that gamers don't build? Motherfucker, like 80% of all fucking gamers that owns a PC have built their PC. The fuck you mean, bro?
Sabotage the game.
That's part of being a gamer. You built your shit.
I think almost all of us.
Fortnite, all the way. I'm kidding.
Maybe in different ways. Say we're making an adventure game and we have 2 rich environments where we each want enough textures and models to fill memory. which you can do as long as you have a long staircase or elevator ride or a windy corridor where you can ditch the old assets and then take 30 seconds or so to load the new assets.
I'm gonna stop him there though. That moment you run through this like little tunnel, whatever it is, and you get to that big ass castle, all the mountains that surround that castle prevents you and prevents your gaming system to load the castle that is outside. Because when you turn around, you don't have to render that big view.
All those twisty passages.
So you basically save
there's a whole subset of level design
space
dedicated to this sort of
and power
work,
by
but
doing
still,
shit like that.
It's a giant distraction for a team that just wants to make their game. So when I talked about the dream of an SSD, part of the reason for that 5 GB a second target was to eliminate loads, but also part of the reason for that target was streaming. As in, what if the SSD is so fast that as the player is turning around, it's possible to load textures for everything behind the player in that split second?
Yo, sis, if you're here, you need to tell mom to not come and ask me what I want for food.
That sounds about right for next.
I've told her so many times, I don't care. I appreciate that foods get delivered on the table.
Read speed is to make big sequential chunks.
It comes in and like literally press conference room. Do you want this? It's nice to have options.
And the streaming gets faster.
But
there's a downside too, which is that frequently used data is included in many chunks and therefore is on the hard drive many, many times.
I don't care.
Marvel's Spider-Man uses this strategy, and though
I eat what I eat.
Streaming speed, there's a massive duplication as a result. Some of the objects like mailboxes or news racks are on the hard drive for...
No, I don't have a PC, feels Batman. Aha!
What I'm describing...
I knew it! You're not a true gamer!
Cramp a creative director's style. Either level design
I'm kidding, bro, I'm kidding.
Places, or the data is duplicated so many times that it no longer fits on the Blu-ray disc. And you end up with hard limits on the player's run speed or driving speed. The player can't go faster than the load speed.
By the way, if anyone in the YouTube comments gonna say, pay attention, shut the fuck up, this is my video, this is my reaction, this is my commentary over this shit. Shut the fuck up, okay? I can pay attention, multitask.
That's because when just part of a file has been changed, the new data can be downloaded pretty quickly. But before the game boots up, a brand new file has to be constructed that includes the changed portion. Otherwise, every change would add a seek or two.
Yes.
Even so, you can occasionally see this happen in game titles. They start to hitch once they get patched enough. With an SSD, though, no seeks. So no need to make brand new files with the changes incorporated into them, which means no installs.
Virtual reality handshake. That's a new way. That's the new way we're gonna survive on planet Earth.
System memory can be used.
The way we're gonna do all kinds of things. Eat, sleep, handshakes, hugs. Everything is gonna be virtual reality from now on.
By the time you realize you need a piece of data, it's much too late to go out and load it. So system memory has to contain all of the data that could be used in the next 30 seconds or so of gameplay. That means a lot of the 8 GB of system memory is idle. It's just waiting there to be potentially used. On PlayStation 5, though, the SSD is very close to being like more RAM. Typically, it's fast enough that when you realize you need a piece of data, you can just load it from the SSD and use it. There's no need to have lots of data parked in system memory waiting to potentially be used. A different way of saying that is that most of RAM is working on the game's behalf. This is one of the reasons that 16 GB of GDDR6 feels right for PlayStation 5. The presence of the SSD reduces the need for a massive...
My PC has 6 GB RAM.
Size. So back to the dream of the SSD.
Can you actually get higher than 16 GB? I actually think you can. I think you get 32 GB RAM.
Design freedom, meaning no twisty passages or long corridors. More game on the
like
disc,
on PC,
more game
that is.
on the SSD. And finally, those patch installs go away. The reality, though, is that the SSD is just one piece of the puzzle.
Just showing some of that God of War, huh?
Bottlenecks can occur in between the SSD
Where's my God of War
and the
shirt?
game code that uses the data. You can see this on PlayStation 4. If I use an SSD with 10 times the speed of a standard hard drive, I probably see only double the loading speed, if that. For PlayStation 5, our goal was not just that the SSD itself be 100 times faster. It was that game loads and streaming would be 100 times faster. So every single potential bottleneck needed to be addressed. And there are a lot of them. Let's look at check-in and what happens when its overhead gets 100 times larger. Conceptually, check-in is a pretty simple process. Data is loaded into system memory from the hard drive or SSD. It's examined, a few values are tweaked to check it in, and then it's moved to its final location. At the SSD speeds we're talking about, that last part, moving the data, meaning copying it from one location to another, takes roughly an entire next-gen CPU core. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If all the overheads get 100 times larger, that will cripple the frame rate as soon as the player moves, and that massive stream of data starts coming off the SSD. So to solve all of that, we built a lot of custom hardware, namely a custom flash controller and a number of custom units in our main chip. The flash controller in the SSD was designed for smooth and bottleneck.
Been trying out Spawn in MK. I like it. Spawn is cool. Spawn is cool as hell, man.
Levels of priority.
I really like him too.
Priority is very important. You can imagine the player heading into some new location in the world and the game requesting a few gigabytes of textures. And while those textures are being loaded, an enemy is shot and has to speak a few dying words. Having multiple priority levels lets the audio for those dying words get immediately.
Watch this motherfucker die in HD. That's what he said. That's what he said. Watch this motherfucker die in HD. SSD. We gotta fucking put that shit on a high level.
8 channels wouldn't be enough.
Watch him cough up blood and shit. HD, motherfucker.
5.5 gigabytes a second. With a 12-channel interface, the most natural size that emerges for an SSD is 825 gigabytes. The key question for us was, is that enough? I mean, it's tempting to add more, but Flash certainly doesn't come cheap.
It's tempting to add more. Motherfucker, just add more.
Effective with regards to
add more. Don't question it.
Ultimately, we resolved this question by looking at the play patterns of a broad range.
Bitch, I'm ready. Good.
We examined the specific games that we were playing over the course of a weekend or a week or a month, and whether that set of games would fit properly on the SSD. We were able to establish that the friction caused by reinstalls or redownloads would be quite low, and so we locked in on that 825 gigabyte size, while also preparing multiple strategies so that those who want more storage can add it. I'll go through the details.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
Back to the Flash controller. On the other side, it connects to our
give him more of that space.
4 lanes of Gen 4 PCIe. And inside the main custom chip is a pretty hefty unit dedicated to I/O.
Gotta fill up my photos if you know what I'm saying.
Let's talk compression.
Corona. I'm kidding. Why is the Kraken there?
We decided to use it again on PlayStation 5.
Oh shit, I knew it. I knew it.
Developers, I learned about a new
watch Cthulhu about to like jump in front of the screen and like hypnotize everybody who's watching this shit live. PlayStation knows that the whole world is watching right now. This is the best opportunity to let Cthulhu just take over the world. Hypnotize every motherfucker and just let us step outside and cough each other in the face and die by corona.
It was already becoming a de facto industry standard. Half of the teams I talked to were either
4K?
using it or getting ready to.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna be 4K.
So we hustled and built a custom decompressor into the I/O unit, one capable of handling over 5 gigabytes of Kraken.
4 gigabyte SARS? No.
After decompression, that typically becomes 8 or 9 gigabytes. But the unit itself is capable of outputting as much as 22 gigabytes a second if the data happen to compress particularly well. By the way, in terms of performance, that custom decompressor equates to 9 of our cores. That's what it would take to decompress the Kraken stream.
Sony is never going to remake Jet Moto like they did with CTR. Then they, if Sony didn't remake CTR, it was fucking Vicarious Visions and Activision and Beanox. Have nothing to do with Sony.
In terms of its copy performance.
Its
primary purpose is
then the least they can do is backwards compatibility. I can't fucking read today. Across all previous platforms. I think we're gonna see it. I honestly gotta think we're gonna see it. I think we're gonna see backwards shit. I hope. A lot of people have been talking about the whole backwards stuff.
This lets us bypass traditional file I/O and its bottlenecks when reading from the SSD. The other is responsible for memory mapping, which I know doesn't sound like anything related to the SSD, but a lot of developers map and remap memory as part of file I/O, and this too can become a bottleneck. There are coherency engines to assist the coprocessors. Coherency comes up a lot in places. Probably the biggest coherency issue is stale data in the GPU caches.
Kraken
Flushing
decompression.
all of the caches whenever the SSD is read is an unattractive option. It could really hurt the GPU performance. So
It actually says it. Kraken decompression.
Inform the GPU of the overwritten address ranges and custom.
Maybe the PlayStation 5 is gonna be called Kraken. PlayStation Kraken.
The best
because it's a beast.
When you read from the SSD,
the console's gonna be a beast.
You don't
cracking these nuts.
Data is compressed. You just indicate what data you'd like to read from your original uncompressed file and where you'd like to put it, and the whole process of loading it happens invisibly to you and at very high speed.
You know what I mean? Of course I do.
Back to the dream. Thanks to all of that surrounding hardware, our 5.5 gigabytes a second really should translate into something like 100 times faster I/O than PS4, and allow the dream of
PlayStation Cthulhu. It's coming. Ah, shit.
Having said that,
y'all thought coronavirus was bullshit? Watch this shit.
Flash is costly.
That's what PlayStation said.
We very well want to add storage to whatever we put in the console. Now, the kind of storage you need depends on how you're going to use it. If you have an extensive PlayStation 4 library and you'd like to take advantage of backwards compatibility to play those games on PlayStation 5, then a large external hard drive is ideal. You can leave your games on the hard drive.
Did he just say backwards?
Thus saving the pricier SSD storage for your PlayStation 5 titles, or you can copy your active PlayStation 4 titles to the SSD. If your purpose in adding more storage is to play PlayStation 5 titles, though, ideally you would add to your SSD storage. We will be supporting certain M2 SSDs. These are internal drives that you can get on the open market and install.
He just saying I'm gonna be able to play my old games.
Support and when, I'll get to that in a moment. They connect through the custom I/O unit, just like our SSD does, so they can take full advantage of the decompression, I/O coprocessors, and all the other features I was talking about.
Okay.
Here's the catch, though.
Okay.
That commercial drive has to be at least as fast as ours.
Okay.
Games that rely on the speed of our SSD need to work flawlessly with any M2 drive. When I gave the Wired interview last year, I said that the PlayStation 5 SSD was faster than anything available on PC. At the time, commercial M2 drives used PCIe 3.0, and 4 lanes of that cap out at 3.5 gigabytes a second. In other words, no PCIe 3.0 drive can hit the required spec. M2 drives with PCIe 4.0 are now out in the market. We're getting samples and seeing 4 or 5 gigabytes a second from them. By year's end, I expect there will be drives that saturate 4.0 and support 7 gigabytes a second. Having said that, we are comparing apples and oranges, though, because that commercial M2 drive will have its own architecture, its own flash controller, and so on. For example, the NVMe specification lays out a priority scheme for requests that the M2 drives can use. And that scheme is pretty nice, but it only has 2 true priority levels. Our drive supports 6. We can hook up a drive with only 2 priority levels, definitely, but our custom I/O unit has to.
Bro, Matrix is falling down right now. I just blacked out for a hot minute. Matrix numbers was falling down. I was sitting here and calculating everything so compared to PlayStation 4 and a PC.
in PlayStation 5 for M2 drives. Unlike internal hard drives, there's unfortunately no standard for the height of an M2 drive. And some M2 drives have giant heat sinks. In fact, some of them even have their own fans. Right now, we're getting M2 drive samples and benchmarking them in various ways. When games hit beta as they get ready for the PlayStation 5 launch at year end, we'll also be doing some compatibility testing to make sure that the architecture of particular M2 drives isn't too foreign for the games to handle.
Did you say PlayStation 5 will launch
testing, we should be able to
year end?
Know which drives will physically fit and which drive samples have benchmarked appropriately high.
But did I hear wrong?
It would be great if that happened by launch, but it's likely to be a bit past it.
You said launch.
Please hold off.
You said launch by end of year.
Until you hear from us. Okay, back to our principles. Balancing evolution and revolution is the second of them. This was definitely a recurring theme with the GPU. We need new GPU features and capabilities. If
in your end, okay.
Performance, it's not really a new generation of console.
It sounded like he said in year end.
Capabilities result in more performance. That's part of why a PlayStation 5 teraflop is more powerful than a PlayStation 4 teraflop. But we aren't just looking for the performance. We also need the ability to do something with the GPU that could not have been done before.
Live stream!
And we need higher performance per
I mean,
watt.
the PS4 can already do that.
Double the performance of some
But
GPU component.
it would be nice to have a better stream.
Doubled the power consumed and the heat.
With my old ass PC.
But at the same time, we have to make
Bravo,
sure
how you
the
doing?
GPU can run PS4 games. And we have to ensure that the architecture is easy for the developers to adopt. Now, backwards compatibility was handled masterfully by AMD. They treated it as a key need throughout the design process. As our solution to adding new features without blindsiding developers, we made sure that if there were new
compatibility,
features, it would be optional to use them. The GPU supports ray tracing, but you don't have to use ray tracing to make your game. The GPU supports primitive shaders, but you can release your first game on PlayStation 5 without making any use of them. Before I get into the capabilities of the GPU, I'd like to make clear 2 points that can be quite confusing. First, we have a custom AMD GPU based on their RDNA 2 technology. What does that mean? AMD is continuously improving and revising their tech. For RDNA 2, their goals were...
How old is your PC? About 10 plus.
Reduce power consumption by re-architecting the GPU to put data close to where it's needed. To
we're getting there though. 10 plus.
And to add a new, more advanced feature set. But that feature set is malleable, which is to say that we have our own needs for PlayStation, and that can factor into what the AMD roadmap becomes. So collaboration is born. If we bring concepts to AMD that are felt to be widely useful, then they can be adopted into RDNA 2 and used broadly, including in PC GPUs. If the ideas are sufficiently specific to what we're trying to accomplish, like the GPU cache scrubbers I was talking about, then they end up being just for us. If you see a similar discrete GPU available as a PC card at roughly the same time as we release our console, that means our collaboration with AMD succeeded in producing technology useful in both worlds. It doesn't mean that we as Sony simply incorporated the PC part into our
Guys, imagine this dude in a war industry.
Technology means it's dangerous to rely
imagine this guy talking about the newest, latest atomic fucking crazy universal fucking nuke that can just annihilate an entire fucking planet. No, a star. It can fucking vaporize a fucking star. This new, completely crazy war nuke that US have made. Now imagine him explaining it like this. Calm and collected, and just explaining the mass destruction it can do. Dude, I want this guy. I want this guy everywhere. I want this guy to be my lawyer.
Backwards compatible with PlayStation 4.
The way he talks.
One way you can achieve backwards compatibility.
This dude is gonna kill it.
Chipset in the new console, like we did with some PlayStation 3.
PS2 and PS.
A better way is to incorporate any differences in the previous console's logic into the new console's custom chip.
Yo, where's PS1 though?
Even as the technology evolves, the logic and feature set that PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro titles rely on is still available in backwards compatibility modes. One advantage
so far we saw PS4, Pro, PS4,
in the console. It's
PS3 and PS2. They didn't show PS1.
Will remove backwards compatibility like it did on PlayStation 3. Achieving this unification of functionality took years of efforts by AMD, as any roadmap advancement creates a potential divergence in logic. Running PS4 and PS4 titles at boosted frequencies has also added complexity. The boost is truly massive this time around, and some game code just can't handle it. Testing has to be done on a title-by-title basis. Results are excellent, though. We recently took a look at the top 100 PlayStation 4 titles as ranked by PlayStation.
God of War!
And we're expecting almost all of them to be playable at launch on PlayStation 5. With regards to new
features, are you implying there's gonna be a new God of War?
New ground,
huh,
but at
shit.
the same time,
maybe I gotta hit up Santa Monica Studio real quick. that guy at the PlayStation conference, was he referring to you guys? What's going on?
But for the most part, dedicated hardware is responsible for the triangles and other geometry that the vertices form. That means it's not possible to do even basic optimizations, such as aborting processing of a vertex if all geometry that uses it is off-screen. PlayStation 5 has a new unit called the Geometry Engine, which brings handling of triangles and...
So I can't play Legend of Dragon or Legend of
As a game
Legaia.
developer, you're free to ignore its existence and use
I mean, there's this thing that's
PlayStation
called
5
emulating,
as if it
but
were no more capable than the PS4 GPU.
You
You can use this new intelligence in various ways. Simple usage could be performance optimization, such as removing backfaced or off-screen vertices and triangles. More complex usage involves something called primitive shaders, which allow the game to synthesize.
So you got a
geometry on
brain?
the fly
Shit,
as
it's an AI.
rendered. It's a brand new capability.
PlayStation
Using primitive shaders
Skynet.
on PlayStation 5 will allow for a broad variety of techniques, including smoothly varying level of detail, addition of procedural detail to close-up objects, and improvements to particle effects and other visual special effects. Another major new feature of our custom RDNA 2 based
Ray
GPU
tracing.
is
Are
ray
you
tracing,
okay?
using the same strategy as AMD's upcoming GPUs.
Bro.
The CUs contain a
So
new
who's hype about the new
specialized unit called
Xbox?
the intersection engine, which can calculate
No?
the intersection of rays with boxes.
No, alright.
To use the intersection engine,
Shit,
first
I
you
understand
build
you guys. That motherfucker looking like a fucking fridge.
it's data in RAM.
That's a fridge. That's not an Xbox, that's a fridge.
There's a specific set of formats you can use. They're
I keep my Mountain Dew in
variations
it.
on the same BVH.
Fucking spits out Mountain Dew.
Then, in your shader program, you use a new instruction that asks the intersection engine to check a ray against the BVH. While the intersection engine is processing the requested ray triangle or ray box intersections, the shaders are free to do other work. Having said that, the ray tracing instruction is pretty memory intensive, so it's a good mix with logic-heavy code. There's of course no need to use ray
I love when he takes a break to go like...
graphics engines will run just fine on
He goes like that.
but it presents an opportunity for those interested. I'm thinking it'll take less than 1 million rays a second to have a big impact on audio. That should be enough for audio occlusion and some reverb calculations. With a bit more of the GPU invested in ray tracing,
I mean, if it can store food, guys,
having said that,
don't fall for
adding
it.
ray traced shadows and
Don't
reflections
fall for
to a
it.
traditional graphic
I
engine
watched it,
could easily
okay?
take
I watched it
hundreds of
live.
millions
I saw the
of rays a
fridge.
second, and
It might
full
be a
ray
fridge,
tracing could take
but it cannot contain a lot
How
of
far
food.
can we go? I'm starting to get quite
All this
bored. I've
Corona
already
shit that's
seen
going on right
PlayStation
now,
5
do not buy that fridge.
successfully using ray
You're
tracing
not gonna be able to
reflections
store
in
shit.
complex animated
Might be able to
scenes
put like a little
with
bottle of
all
water in it, but yeah, that's it.
Another set of issues for the GPU involved size and frequency. How big do we make the GPU, and what frequency do we run it at? This is a balancing act. The chip has a cost, and there's a cost for whatever we use to supply that chip with power and to cool it. In general, I like running the GPU at higher frequency. Let me show you why. Here's 2 possible configurations for a GPU roughly of the level of the PlayStation 4 Pro. This is a thought experiment. Don't take these configurations too seriously.
I will.
If you just calculate
You don't know me, bro.
teraflops, you
I
get the
will.
same number.
Everything that coming out of your
But
mouth, I'm
actually,
taking serious.
Performance is noticeably different because teraflops is defined as the computational capability of the vector ALU. That's just one part of the GPU. There are a lot of other units. And those other units all run faster when the GPU frequency is higher. At 33% higher frequency, rasterization goes 33% faster.
Yo, I'm sorry, guys. I can't take it serious. This dude, man.
goes
This
that
dude
much
is
faster.
fucking
L2
smart.
and, other
Okay,
caches
he's
have
smart.
that much higher bandwidth.
We
And so
guys,
about the only
guys, let me tell you guys
downside
something,
to that
man.
system memory
We
is
motherfuckers, we
30%
playing chess.
clearer
This
way
motherfucker's playing checkers, okay?
But the large
This dude's
number
brain
of
is like
benefits
fucking
more
9
than
head, okay?
balance that.
4
As
head
a
in the
friend of
chat.
mine
This dude is
said,
9 head.
"A
This dude is
rising
like the
tide
9th
lifts all
dimension
boats."
of like knowledge.
Also, it's easier to fully use
Holy
36
shit.
CUs in parallel than it
Look how
is to
confident
fully
this dude
use
is.
48 CUs. When triangles are small, it's much harder to fill all those CUs with useful work. So there's a lot to be said for faster, assuming you can handle the resulting power and heat issues, which frankly, we haven't always done the best job at. Part of the reason for that is, historically, our process for setting CPU and GPU frequencies has relied on some heavy-duty guesswork with regards to how much electrical
Why is
power
there a
games will
nuke?
consume and how much heat will be
Lowers
produced
power
as a result
consumption.
inside of the
A
console.
car, a
Power
nuke,
consumption varies a lot from game to game.
a
When
double
I
hole
played
shotgun,
God of
a
War
bow,
on the
highest
PS4 Pro,
power
I know
consumption
the power
is an
consumption
axe,
high
a
just by the
tomahawk.
fan noise. But power isn't simply about engine quality. It's about the minutia of what's being displayed and how. It's counterintuitive, but processing dense geometry typically consumes less power than processing simple geometry, which is I suspect why Horizon's map screen, with its low triangle count, makes my PS4 Pro heat up so much. Our process on previous consoles has been to try to guess what the maximum power consumption during the entire
could also
console
just
life
clean your fucking
which is
PlayStation.
the worst case scene.
If your fan is fucking destroying, like, let's say you have like this like construction work going on outside, right? You have this construction work going on outside. You're like, wow, this shit is fucking loud, man. Let me close my damn window. And you close the window and you're still wondering why there's still construction work going on inside of your fucking room until you realize it's your fucking PlayStation. I think it might be time to open up your fucking PlayStation and clean it. I'm just saying.
Instructions that consume a lot of power. These are great here and there, but presumably only
gamers don't clean.
Or are they? If we plan for major 256-bit instructions,
says we have to clean our consoles. How am I supposed to compete with that dude?
Increase the size of the power supply.
This dude 9th dimension, man. This motherfucker clean. Like, look at that.
We decided to go with
everything is clean. His suit, his glasses, the fucking pen he's holding.
We built a GPU.
Everything is clean, man.
36 CUs. Mind you, RDNA 2 CUs are large. Each has 62% more transistors than the CUs we were using on PlayStation 4. So if we compare transistor counts, 36 RDNA 2 CUs.
What's up with your trash can in the corner of your live stream? Trash can? You calling that a trash can?
Sizable GPU.
My chair? With clothes?
We went with a variable.
How's that a trash can? You're fucking trash.
Which is to say, we continuously run the GPU and CPU.
Oh, fire! Can't be asked to clean my
A
shit.
generous amount of
Bro, come on, man.
And then increase the frequency.
When you go to the bathroom to take a shit, you don't wipe the booty? Is that what you're trying to tell me? No. You wipe the booty, but you don't wash the booty. You wipe it. There's still shit stain on your booty. You gotta clean it.
Vary based on the workload. We run at essentially constant power and let the frequency vary based on the workload. We then tackled the engineering challenge of a cost-effective and high-performance.
Dude, this guy's worse, man.
For that specific
this guy's worse.
In some ways,
engineering challenges. This motherfucker clean, man. How do you say clean in Japanese? Isn't it ping ping? Ping ping? This motherfucker ping ping. This dude taking showers from back to back. He took a shower, he stepped out of the shower, dried himself up, went into the shower to take another bath. This dude clean, hyper clean, from back to back. In terms of look, voice, charming, and fucking knowledge. 9th dimension clean.
That won't work. It fails to create a consistent PlayStation 5 experience. It wouldn't do
PlayStation 5 experience. There it is. Yo, guys!
So
count the experience. You gotta see the shit like it's E3. Every time there's some time of conference, it's always the experience. How many times has this guy said experience?
While we're at it, we also
count
use
it.
AMD's Smart Shift technology and send any unused power from the CPU to the GPU so it can squeeze out a few more pixels. The benefits of this
a few more pixels.
Quite large.
Talk about fucking 9 billions more of pixels.
Unreachable target with the old fixed frequency strategy. With this new paradigm, we're able to run way over that. In fact, we have to cap the GPU frequency at 2.23 gigahertz so that we can guarantee that the on-chip logic.
Got clean vibes in handy too. 20 play way in alone.
36 CUs at 2.23 gigahertz.
Gotta clean the poo-poo.
3 teraflops. And we expect the GPU to spend most of its
take a shot every time you talk smart, dude. I'm gonna be dying on stream then.
Similarly,
if the corona ain't gonna get to me, drinking is gonna get to me.
With the old strategy. But now we can run it as high as 3.5 gigahertz. In fact, it spends most of its time at that frequency.
3.5? That's actually like a fucking computer CPU.
Running at 2.23 gigahertz and 3.5 gigahertz. When that worst case game arrives, it will run at a lower clock speed, but not too much lower. To reduce power by 10%, it only takes a couple of % reduction in frequency. So I'd expect any downclocking.
Dude, whoa. Dude, come on, man. Damn. I feel like I'm at school again. This dude educating me while he's doing this press conference.
The final of our 3 principles.
Holy shit, man. Is he Hideo Kojima? Is this Hideo Kojima in disguise?
New ways to
is he gonna talk about nanomachines?
And that's what led us to a focus on 3D art.
Finding new dreams. No, finding your 9th dimensions of knowledge. Holy fuck, why aren't you working for NASA?
Feedback we receive from the controller, such as rumble or haptics. Personally, I feel a game is just dead without audio. Visuals are, of course, important, but the impact of audio is huge as well. At the same time, the audio team on a game project has to do a lot with a little.
Yo, guys, you guys want to have good sound? Razer headset, not sponsored.
Audio typically ends up getting just a fraction of a core. That's not much of a computational resource, particularly when
Yo, I can't even say that word.
Second, but audio processing needs to happen at almost 200 times a second. So, it's been tough going making forward progress on audio with PlayStation 4, particularly when PlayStation 3 was such a beast when it came to audio. The SPUs in Cell were almost a perfect device for audio rendering. Simple pipelined algorithms could really take advantage of asynchronous DMA and frequently reach 100% utilization of the floating point unit. There's unfortunately nothing.
Utilization, holy fuck.
Probably the most dramatic progress in the generation has been with virtual reality. The PSVR hardware has its own audio unit. It supports about 50 pretty decent.
Let's go!
Sources.
I'm about to join the anime world! One Piece, I'm coming!
As well as some valuable experience.
Experience! Count it!
But here
count it in the chat! That's like the 4th time he says experience.
The first goal was great audio for everyone, not just VR users or soundbar owners or headphone users. That meant audio.
You probably said experience a lot more though.
Couldn't be a peripheral.
Let's go with 6. You said it 6 times so far.
Hundreds of sound sources. We didn't want.
You know it's PlayStation. They like that experience.
What sounds would get 3D effects and which wouldn't. We wanted every sound in the game to have dimensionality. And finally, we wanted to really
dimensionality. That's what I told you guys. This motherfucker, they need like 9th dimension, man.
When we say presence, we mean the feeling that you're actually there.
PlayStation experience? That's actually a thing.
It's not, of course, something we thought we could perfectly achieve. The idea was that if we stopped using just a rain sound and instead used lots of 3D audio sources for raindrops hitting the ground at all sorts of locations around you, then at some point your brain would take a leap and you'd begin
Bro, what? Yo, imagine playing Fortnite on the PS5 then.
This has the capacity to.
Y'all remember the fucking trouble? Sometimes you can't even fucking hear if the opponent is like upstairs or downstairs. Now you're gonna hear the entire fucking land.
It's just
you're gonna land on the fucking battlefield. You're gonna hear everything.
To the right of you, behind you.
You're gonna hear somebody teabagging 1,000 miles away. Like.
And it can also directly enhance the gameplay.
Holy shit!
To use Dead Space as an example, old school, you're fighting enemies in fairly dark, spooky locations. Back in the day, if you played the game using the TV speakers, you could tell that there was one last enemy growling and hunting you down, but it was difficult to tell quite where that enemy was. With headphones, you could tell that the enemy was somewhere on the right, which let you deduce, if you couldn't see it, that it must be somewhere behind and to your right.
Yo, EA, where you at, bro?
The idea is, you know.
Now y'all motherfuckers need to make a new Dead Space.
And you turn.
Come on, man. Dead Space remastered, please!
How do you know where a sound is coming from in the first place? Well, all those bumps and folds in the ear have a meaning, evolution.
Bro, imagine being in the spaceship and hearing all that fucking 9th dimension shit.
Oh, bounce around inside the ear, there's some constructive and destructive interference, and the result is a change in volume. The phase of the sound also shifts, depending on what path the sound wave took to reach the ear canal. These volume shifts
Stop.
Direction and also vary depending on the frequency of the sound. Head size and head shape also impact the sound in a similar fashion. The way
in a similar fashion.
Based on direction and frequency.
I don't know what the fuck all this shit is about.
Transfer function.
But it doesn't matter. He make it sound good no matter what.
Here's part of one. The vertical axis is the
I swear, this dude could sell me a trash can. A trash can full of shit. He could sell me that for $200. Just the way he talks. I'm like, take my fucking money.
HRTF is as unique to an individual.
The money that I don't have.
In fact, you're looking at mine right now. Here's how we measure an HRTF. We've taken hundreds of people through this process. We put a microphone in the subject's left and right ear canals, and then sit the subject down in the middle of an array of 22 speakers. We then play an audio sweep from each speaker as we rotate the subject.
Bro,
in the course of 10 we're able to sample the HRTF at over.
Yo, they're out here making Metal Gear! They ain't gonna be no PlayStation 5, this is gonna be Metal Gear!
Paralleled quality, but it's computationally.
They're making their own legitimate Metal Gear raid.
process a sound source to make it appear as if it's coming
Holy
from
shit!
1,000 locations we sample.
Guys, that's just volume. We're talking about sound.
Frequency domain.
We ain't talking about graphics or anything like that. We're talking about sound.
Fourier transforms needed for every sound
damn.
source, for every audio tick.
Motherfucker went in. It's just sound.
This computational complexity was the determining factor for our strategy. It meant we had to
for our strategy. Oh,
for 3D.
Yo, this dude, he making me nut. Oh my god.
Unit and the proprietary algorithms we run on it.
This motherfucker, he played with his food, man. Damn.
The meaning of
he takes our nipples, right, and he goes like he just play with it like that, man.
Really reflects our goals with audio.
Reflects our goals.
Intensity of experience and also hints at your presence within.
Yo, this mother, yo, ninth dimension, like I said.
It's based on AMD's GPU technology.
Holy shit, yo, everybody bend over, man. This motherfucker be playing with you right now.
PlayStation 3. Remember when I said that they were ideal for audio? So the Tempest engine has no caches, just like an SPU. All data access is via DMA, just like an
data access.
Our target.
Yo, this motherfucker's not human. He's an AI. He's an AI.
Thanks to the parallelism.
He's an AI. I'm calling out.
It would be more
He's an AI.
than our GPU thanks to the SPU architecture. The goal being to
within 5 minutes he's gonna go like this. He's just gonna rip off his fucking skin, and there's an AI underneath. And all these motherfuckers sitting down there dead.
A unit with roughly the
dead
same
as we speak.
Power and bandwidth as all 8 Jaguar cores in the PlayStation 4 combined. If we were to use the same algorithm,
this motherfucker's gonna be walking around killing these people as an AI. Why he screams, "You must construct additional pylons." Like he's gonna say some fucking, you know, ninth dimension type of shit.
Anything like that number of sounds.
You must construct additional pylons.
It would have been wonderful if a simpler strategy, such as using Dolby Atmos peripherals, could have achieved our goals, but we wanted 3D audio for all, not just those with licensed soundbars or the like. Also, we wanted many hundreds of sound sources, not just the 32 that Atmos supports. And finally, we wanted to be able to throw an overwhelming amount of processing power at the problem. And it wasn't clear what any peripheral might have inside of it. In fact, with the Tempest engine,
why do I feel like Trump is like sitting down there somewhere,
some to the games,
like secretly?
To the extent that games want to make use of convolution reverb and other algorithms that are either computationally expensive or need high bandwidth. But the primary purpose of the Tempest engine remains 3D audio. Now, 3D audio is a major academic research topic. It's safe to say that no one in the world has all of the answers. And the set of algorithms that has to be invented...
No one has all the answers, except for me, he didn't say.
For example, use of HRTFs in games is quite complex. Before, I talked about making a sound source appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 HRTF sample locations. But for high-quality 3D game audio, we have to handle other possibilities. The sound source might not be at one of the 1,000 HRTF sample locations, so we have to blend the HRTF data from the closest locations that we have sampled. The sound source might be moving, which needs very special handling as that blend keeps changing, and that can cause phase artifacts in the result.
Why do I feel like Microsoft is sitting like somewhere in the world right now, and they're looking at this shit, and they just go like this? They look at that new Xbox that they made, like.
3D audio can be implemented using individual processing of 3D sound sources, but alternatively, ambisonics can be used.
Like they're gonna go.
Ambisonics speak somewhat like the used in computer graphics.
You done fucked up.
There's audio devices. The player might be using headphones or TV speakers, or have a higher-end surround sound setup with 6 or more speakers, all of which need different approaches. That's a lot of variations. It's nice to have the computational resources of the Tempest engine, but it's clear that achieving our ultimate goals with 3D audio is going to be a multi-year, step-by-step process. Having said that, headphone audio implementation is largely complete at this time.
Yeah, but it also depends on which headphones you have.
What each ear hears, and therefore the algorithm.
If you got some like corny-ass, whack-ass type of headphones, I doubt it's gonna have all that 3D type of shit that they're talking about.
Virtual surround sound. The idea being that if you're sitting in a sweet spot in front of the TV, then the sound can be made to feel as if it's coming from any direction. Even
with 6 or more speakers like in standard.
Virtual surround sound has a lot in common with 3D audio on headphones,
hey man,
but it's more complex
the game of life.
because the left ear can hear the right speaker and vice versa. We have a basic implementation of virtual surround sound up and running. We're now looking at increasing the size of that sweet spot, which is to say, making the area you need to be in to feel the 3D effect larger. And we're also working to boost the sense of locality. Headphone audio is the current gold standard for 3D audio on PlayStation 5.
They're just imagining that everybody is playing their games like this and not having headset?
We'll start in on setups with more speakers, such as 6-channel.
Fucking normies.
It's now to the point where some of the PlayStation 5 games in development are extensively using these systems.
Some of the PlayStation 5 games that are in development.
4 style stereo audio and our new 3D.
Confirmed.
With just an ordinary pair of
I wonder which of those games are being made for the PlayStation 5.
Feel to it. Conventional stereo audio feels smashed flat by comparison.
Which is
obvious. So, a big
hold on a minute.
Have I entered the Matrix?
Wait a minute.
Does my brain believe I'm really there?
Matrix?
Like I was talking about earlier when
you actually said Matrix.
Target of presence. Well, the answer is no. But you've probably caught on to what's missing here, namely whose HRTF.
Yeah, I know what's missing. The freaking console. Where the fuck is the console?
The default HRTF. The audio team analyzed the hundreds that they measured and chose the one they felt was the closest fit to the total game-playing audience. This shows a piece of
I just had to check Santa Monica Studios email real quick. You never know.
Right. You can see that the general features are much the
same.
same.
You never know.
The details are
hey, want to try out the next God of War? Yeah.
With the default HRTF,
sure.
as I said,
Why not?
the 3D audio sounds pretty great. When I use my HRTF, though, the audio reaches a higher level of realism, which is to say that when using headphones and my HRTF, I occasionally get fooled and even think a sound is coming from the real world when it's actually coming from the game.
Oh shit.
A corollary to this is
that it's happening, boys.
HRTFs are sufficiently
legitimate VR is happening.
HRTF, that's the red dot here.
Well, you know,
toggle between PS4
stay your asses home, right?
Style audio and not
what a perfect time to
I've had a few
get into the VR world.
PlayStation 5's 3D audio is sounding like a bit better stereo audio. Presumably, they're the ones at the very edges of this diagram. Which means what HRTF you're using is key. I'd like everyone to be able to experience what I'm experiencing, but obviously it's not
2 times he said experience there. Add that in, boys and grills.
HRTF selection and
get that experience.
Big topics going forward.
Street Fighter 6, Dead Space, Remastered, God of War 2, War 6. I would definitely say God of War 6. Jet Moto, Dead Rising 1 and 2 remake using the RE engine.
That's just the first step, though. This is an open.
It would be really fucking dope to see.
Maybe
like,
you'll be sending us a photo of your ear, and we'll choose a neural network to pick the closest HRTF in our library.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you'll be sending us a video.
Time to send my ear.
And your head, and we'll
yo, you want them ear pics?
And synthesize the HRTF. Maybe you'll play an audio game to tune your HRTF. We'll be subtly changing it as you play and home in on the HRTF that gives you the highest score, meaning that it matches you the best.
The best.
This is a journey.
Like, guys, I'm not even kidding about that part. Dead Space, the first game, when it was released on the Xbox and PlayStation 3, that game was ahead of its time in terms of environment and sound and all that shit. So to see Dead Space 1 remastered on the PlayStation 5 and just to see how it's gonna look,
see how the development community takes advantage of that feature.
bro, I'm nutting. I'm actually nutting.
Completely unexpected. Will it come from audio, ray tracing, the capabilities of the SSD, or
sounds more powerful than the NASA spaceship? That's why I said he gotta work. This dude gotta work for NASA. Come on, man. What? That's it? This dude gotta work for NASA. This dude 9th dimension. That's it? Is Cthulhu gonna jump in my face now and... Damn. Just like that. That's it.